Osvaldo has the details.
The opposition points out that the state government is controlled by sectors that act like mafias, led by former President Horacio Cartes, who are taking over the institutions. It is therefore necessary to build a political alternative.
Who could doubt the legitimacy? I was the senator with the most votes on the preferential lists. Giving that signal was very strong for the rest. If someone has a legitimacy of 100,000 preferential votes in an independent list, which he did not have, let's say, you had to look for the list to find me, right? I didn't have a list that went with the same number as the presidential one. So if we can do this to her, we can do whatever we want with the rest.
The opposition points out that the state government is controlled by sectors that act like mafias, led by former President Horacio Cartes, who are taking over the institutions. It is therefore necessary to build a political alternative.
We want to recover the right to hope, that right to hope that they want to steal from us, that they want to kidnap us, that they want to silence us, that they want to atomize us. Because we have to dream of a different country, and to dream it we have to go step by step. There are no shortcuts here.
Peasant families joined the march that began in Caquipí, the spiritual capital of Paraguay. They said they are protesting for public policies that respond to the needs of the people.
The lack of health, the lack of education, and the lack of a policy for production. All of this has its consequences, and these consequences are suffered by the people. The people in general, and above all the women. We are here on a whim. We leave our families and our production to fight.
It is a 4-day march to reach the capital of Paraguay, passing through the departments of Cordillera and Central. The activity is carried out thanks to the solidarity and conscientious work of the different teams, according to the organizers.
This work is not very visible, but it is important to highlight it. Because there are comrades who dedicate 24 hours to different teams so that the comrades who march feel comfortable. These are teams that work in coordination.
Paraguay has the 4th highest crime rate in the world, according to the Global Organized Crime Index, a situation that is reflected in its institutions. To this must be added the lack of health, education, and justice, situations that the organizations will continue to protest against.
Osvaldo teleSUR, Paraguay. In Brazil, at the closing of the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, several issues were on the agenda. More details in the following report by Andre Vieira.
The G20 summit ended on Tuesday in Rio de Janeiro after 2 days of debates. President Lula Silva highlighted the creation of the global mobilization against climate change, and also recalled that the countries of the bloc are responsible for 80% of greenhouse gas emissions and called for effective action by the economic powers.
To the developed members of the G20, I propose that they anticipate their 2050 climate neutrality targets by 2040 or until 2045. Without assuming their historical responsibilities, rich nations will have no credibility for the ambition of others.
Amid much debate, the most effective action of the G20 at the Rio de Janeiro summit was the creation of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. 82 countries signed the commitment initially, but other nations are also joining. During his television program on Monday, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced the accession from Caracas.
I told Foreign Minister Ivan Gil to call the Brazilian Foreign Minister and tell him that Venezuela agrees with President Lula's proposal and we are modestly prepared, with our experience of the food programs of the revolution created by Commander Chavez and created by me, to modestly join the Great Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty summoned by President Lula da Silva.
The Venezuelan president's pronouncement was welcomed by the Brazilian government.
I think this is important. There are 82 countries that have joined the Global Alliance Against Hunger. If more countries can join, it is important. This is an issue that plagues the world. This is a problem that must be confronted. It is not possible for us to coexist in the 21st century with hungry people.
In the final declaration, the countries expressed concern about the situation in Palestine, Lebanon, Ukraine, reaffirmed the commitment to energy transition, taxing the super-rich, and governance reform. But experts question the effective actions of the G20.
It is not with global alliances against hunger and poverty in spaces such as the G20 that we will succeed in replicating China's success in other parts of the global south. We need a new policy.
South Africa assumed the presidency of the G20 and will be the fourth developing country to hold this position after Indonesia, India, and Brazil, and the first African country to do so.
In Cuba, this November, Havana celebrates its 505th anniversary with several cultural events. Our colleague Fabiola Lopez with the details.
Besieged by hurricanes and blockades, this amazing Caribbean city refused to stop dancing. So magical were the nights in this capital during the 28th Alicia Alonso International Ballet Festival of Havana. Despite the heavy rains and fierce winds that came with Hurricane Rafael, the dance festival was never suspended, only postponed.
The ballet, although for some countries it is an elitist expression, for Cuba it cannot be, because it has been at the service of the Cuban people since Alicia Alonso gave it validity. To have a figure like Alicia, who gave herself so much to the people, made it impossible for them not to follow her.
This time artists from 15 nations from the 5 continents shared the poetry of the movement.
I loved everything about the beauty of the body and how beautiful it is to move and express art with the body. It was really incredible for me.
In these difficult times for Cuba, I believe that 2 things have come together: the tenacity and validity of the National Ballet of Cuba, and the gesture of solidarity of those great artists who have been with us.
The 15th Havana Biennial began with this very Cuban drumming. This is not an elite event that stays in the museums. According to its directors, here art comes into contact with the people and becomes part of their lives.
I think it is a very human biennial. I like biennials like this, where you are not the artist who comes to show off, but you are part of a society, of a community.
Magical things happen here, there's no doubt about it. Everything seems like it's not going to happen, and in the end, I don't know how people get around that eventually make things happen.
The master Juvenal Ravello, one of the most notable kinetic artists of our American continent, invites us to enter the creative universe, where art becomes a vehicle for social transformation. Samia Halabi, pioneer of digital art and abstract painting, returns with the installation reorganizes, constructs. Peruvian Sonia Cunliffe presents Operation Peter Pan, from absence to absence, bringing to life the only remaining mobile cinema truck. Mexican artist Victoria Molina brings State of Uncertainty, this collaborative mural made with the community.
It is necessary to understand that from the culture nothing will be able to separate us. Nothing will be able to finish with our countries, and much less with our peoples, who are built from that beautiful diversity of culture.
These are just some of the many proposals of this biennial, which according to experts, not only aims to showcase the creations of the peoples of the South, but also becomes the ideal place to reflect on how to deal with colonization in the current context.
And in Mexico, an important photographic exhibition Highlighting the presence of women in contemporary literature is being presented at the iconic College of San Ildefonso. Details with our correspondent Antonio Aranda.
The majestic College of San Ildefonso is the venue for the exhibition, Women of Letters. Portraits by Barry Dominguez, which brings together 159 photographs that celebrate the legacy of various Mexican women writers.
My interest in literature has led me to create this archive, which I have been doing for more than 30 years, and now we are in a historic moment with a woman president. The idea is for people to get to know more about it.
The photographic exhibition seeks to connect emerging female authors with iconic figures of the 20th century, says the exhibition's author.
One of the objectives I had from the beginning of this project was to make this exhibition for people to know the new generations of women writers, and look for those who are not so well known. And one of the successes is that I wanted to intertwine in alphabetical order the consecrated and already known with the not so well known, so that they come together with each other through my portraits in this exhibition that is a tribute.
Showcasing the talent of women in Mexican literature is important in order to move away from the hegemonic male vision of literature.
There is a great lineage of women writers in our country, and it is very exciting to see the faces of all of them in the atmosphere that the photographer created with each one of these women in this exhibition.
Today, women have more opportunities to disseminate their work and stand out.
I think it is important that nowadays there are spaces like this, like museums where anyone can enter and know that women artists are producing work, and that they have been producing not just recently but for many years. This exhibition brings together portraits of women who were born in the 20th century.
The exhibition Women of Letters also commemorates the 50th anniversary of the death of the Mexican writer and diplomat Rosario Castellanos. The exhibition of the photographer Barry Dominguez invites to know the work of 159 women writers who have forged the literature of the 20th century in Mexico and Latin America.
Antonio Aranda, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
And in Paraguay, Justice correspondent Badosaya has the details.
The opposition points out that the state government is controlled by sectors that act like mafias, led by former President Horacio Cartes.